Jerusalem, 1099. The streets ran with blood as crusaders claimed the holy city. Among the slaughter, a humble Benedictine monk named Gerard moved through the chaos with purpose. While others took lives, he saved them. Christian, Muslim, Jew, it mattered not. In a small hospital near the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, his hands worked tirelessly, stained with the blood of strangers. God sees no enemies among the suffering, he told a dying Saracen warrior who stared back in disbelief. Word spread of the Amalfitane hospital. Knights who had journeyed east to kill found themselves drawn to this different calling. They knelt beside pallets, cleaned wounds, and took strange vows to remain poor, and above all, to serve the sick as their masters. When Pope Pascal II recognized their brotherhood in 1113, none suspected this act of mercy would birth the most enduring military order in history, the Knights of St. John, the Hospitallers. Their badge, a simple white cross on black, would soon be feared and revered across the Holy Land. When Gerard died in 1120, a weathered French knight named Raymond Dupuy took command. He looked at his brothers, men who had once wielded swords, and at the bandits who preyed on pilgrims beyond Jerusalem's walls. Christ's mercy needs Christ's protection, he declared. Thus began the transformation. Knights who had exchanged swords for bandages now carried both. They divided into ranks, knights for battle, sergeants for support, chaplains for souls. Their armor felt familiar beneath new black surcoats, marked with the white cross. What made these knight monks extraordinary was not just their fighting skill, but their medical innovations. In fortress hospitals across Outremer, they separated patients by ailment, changed bedding daily, provided fresh air and clean water, practices centuries ahead of their time. At Crac des Chevaliers, Margat, and Beaver Castle, their fortresses doubled as sanctuaries of healing. These men lived dual lives, brutal in battle, gentle in the ward. The Hospitallers' reputation spread, merciless to enemies, merciful to the weak. Raymond had created something new in Christendom, men who could heal a wound or inflict one with equal devotion. Both, they believed, served God's purpose. By 1187, fortune turned against the Crusaders. At Hattin, Saladin crushed their armies. Jerusalem fell. The Hospitallers retreated to Acre, their last major stronghold. For a century, they endured there, fighting in doomed crusades, waiting for Christendom's next push eastward. It never came. Instead, on May 18, 1291, Sultan al-Ashraf Halil arrived with 60,000 Mamluk warriors, determined to end the Crusader presence forever. Grand Master Jean de Villers rallied his knights atop Acre's walls. "We are the last shield of Christ in this land," he bellowed as catapults hurled death at the city. For days, the knights fought without sleep. Each morning fewer answered the call to arms. The air stank of rot and smoke. When the walls finally crumbled, the Hospitallers formed the rearguard, buying time with blood as women and children fled to the harbor. The shield wall is a terrible place to die. Men pressed shoulder to shoulder, steel biting into flesh. The world narrowed to the space of a single breath. The Grand Master fought until grievously wounded. Only 7 knights escaped that day. As their ship pulled away, black smoke swallowed Acre. 2 centuries of Crusader kingdoms died with the city. The Holy Land was lost. Defeated but unbroken, the Hospitallers regrouped on Cyprus. "We have lost our kingdom," declared Grand Master Fouts de Villeret, eyeing the horizon, "but not our purpose." He set his sights on Rhodes, an island at the edge of Byzantine control. Between 1306 and 1310, the knights seized it sword by sword. Here on this rocky outpost between east and west, the Hospitallers transformed again. The warriors who had been monks became sailors. Their galleys patrolled the eastern Mediterranean, their eight-pointed cross striking fear into Ottoman hearts. Rhodes town grew into an impregnable fortress, its massive walls defying any attacker, its hospital a marvel of medical knowledge. They formed 8 longs, chapters from Provence to Castile, England to Italy, yet remained unified against the rising Ottoman tide. For 2 centuries, the Knights ruled their island kingdom. Their naval power protected Christian shipping from Alexandria to Constantinople. The Hospitallers had found their new calling, guardians of the sea lanes, the last bastion of Christendom in the eastern Mediterranean. Each night, from their watchtowers, they could see the lights of Muslim shores. Each morning, they prepared for the battle they knew would eventually come. In 1522, the storm broke at last. Suleiman the Magnificent, conqueror of Belgrade, master of the East, brought 100,000 Ottoman warriors against Rhodes. 600 knights and their soldiers faced impossible odds. For 6 months, they held. Cannon fire shattered stone. Disease ravaged defenders. Supplies dwindled. On January 1st, 1523, the Grand Master Felipe Villers de L'Isle-Adam surrendered with honor. Suleiman himself paid respect to the old knight's courage. "It pains me to drive this brave old man from his home," the Sultan said. Homeless once more, the knights wandered Europe for 7 years. In 1530, Emperor Charles V offered them a seemingly worthless gift, Malta, a windswept rock barely rising from the Mediterranean. "I give you a stone washed by waves," Charles remarked with a smile. On this barren rock, the Hospitallers would stage their greatest stand. They fortified the island, built new hospitals, and waited. In 1565, the 80-year-old Suleiman resolved to finish what he had started. 200 Ottoman ships, 40,000 elite troops, against 700 knights and their Maltese allies. The greatest siege of the age had begun, a desperate struggle that would determine the fate of the Mediterranean and echo through centuries. For 4 months in 1565, Malta became hell on earth. 70-year-old Grand Master Jean Parasot de la Valette, a veteran of Rhodes, rallied his knights from the battlements. "This rock is soaked with Turkish blood," he shouted as cannonballs whistled overhead, "and still thirsts for more." Fort St. Elmo fell first, its defenders fighting to the last man. The Ottomans mounted knights' heads on pikes, floating crucified bodies across the harbor. La Valette responded in kind, firing Turkish heads from cannons. This was war without mercy. Knights fought in full armor under the brutal summer sun. Gunpowder magazines exploded. Stone walls crumbled. Men died by the thousands. Yet even as they fought, the Hospitallers maintained their medical mission. In hastily erected field hospitals, wounded men received care found nowhere else in the world. When Spanish reinforcements finally arrived in September, the Ottomans retreated, leaving behind 25,000 dead. Europe celebrated the miracle of Malta. La Valette built a new fortified city bearing his name, Valletta. For 2 centuries more, the knights ruled their island kingdom, their navy patrolling against Barbary corsairs and Ottoman fleets. Their grand hospital in Valletta became a center of medical innovation, treating all faiths with the same care Gerard had shown centuries before. Time, not steel, finally conquered the Hospitallers. In 1798, a young general named Napoleon Bonaparte captured Malta with barely a shot fired. 800 years of history ended in a day. The knights scattered across Europe like autumn leaves. Yet their legacy endured. The 8-pointed Maltese cross, symbol of their 8 obligations and beatitudes, still flies over hospitals and ambulances in more than 120 countries today. The Sovereign Military Order of Malta continues its humanitarian mission, serving the sick and poor worldwide. Their fortresses still stand, Crac des Chevaliers in Syria, Rhodes' medieval city, Valleta's imposing walls, monuments to faith expressed through steel and stone. What makes the Hospitallers unique in history is not just their longevity, but their dual nature. They were warriors who healed, monks who fought, sailors who built hospitals. Gerard's simple acts of mercy in Jerusalem spawned a legacy spanning continents and centuries. From humble brothers washing wounds in a pilgrim hostel to masters of islands and seas, they remain true to their first calling, to serve our lords the sick. In a world that grows increasingly divided, perhaps their greatest lesson is this: that even in the darkest times, compassion and courage need not stand apart. They can, as the Knights proved, be different faces of the same enduring virtue.